Good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to the Grianaig Creations podcast channel. This is episode 84. My name is Kirsty, my pronouns are they, them, and I'm coming to you from Paisley in Scotland. Off the bat, the weather is typical Scottish fashion and is doing whatever it wants to do today. So you're going to get some really harsh lights. Just realising you're probably going to get massive reflections of my glasses. You're going to get some really harsh lights and therefore shadows, and there's really not much I can do about it because 1 minute it's nice, 1 minute it's harsh, 1 minute it's dark and gloomy, and then we'll probably get some rain at some point, and yeah. Secondly, this is going to be recorded in at least 2 parts. It is currently 20 to 10 in the morning and I start work at 10, so I'll record some of this like now obviously, and then I'll record the rest on my lunch break. So yeah, it's going to be in at least 2 parts. If it goes on to 3, then God help us, because that means it's over an hour and 20 minutes, and I don't know how many of you will sit through that. So we've got some finished objects, some works in progress, and blah blah blah. Yeah, some new stuff that I have purchased and brought into the household. So yeah, it's gonna be a full show. Don't ask. I'm still tired. Excuse me. Okay, so I have a finished object that I should have shown off in the last podcast, but it was out of sight, out of mind. So behind me, where Chewbacca is sitting, is a unit, and in front of that unit is a storage seat. So it's kind of like something you'd put your feet up on, but you can also sit on it, and you can lift the lid and put things in it. So I've got yarn projects inside it, I've got yarn projects on top of it. And because of where one of my bags holding projects is, it was completely blocking me from seeing this blanket. So if you all remember, I was making the Hexagon Blanket with a blanket pack from the supermarket Aldi, and I ended up having to add some stripes at the top just to make it a bit longer, because if you just take the hexagons, it wasn't a very long blanket. And then when I was doing the stripes, I don't think I was paying close enough attention, because you can see that the top of it actually flares out like quite a bit. And so I sent a photo off to the recipient's mum, because I don't actually know the recipient, and I was like, look, this is what's happening, do you want me to try and get it to level out so that it's straight? And she's like, no, because that will actually allow it to really kind of like wrap around a wee bit extra at the top of the blanket, which is a real good thing apparently. I went, no, never wrapped a baby in a blanket before. I'm just going by what she said. She could just be being really nice about it, or it generally could be quite helpful. So that's blanket number 1. Blanket number 2, you saw all the pieces of it last week, and I have sewn it up. So this is the blanket I've made for the girl I work with, one of the girls I work with, and it is the O Wool pattern. I linked it in last week's podcast, so I'll probably be able to link it again. It is a free pattern, and you knit it in columns, and then you seam the columns together. And if you remember, or if you saw last week's pattern, I haven't actually completed the pattern correctly. The way the stripes are meant to go, as you seam them, one's meant to go that way, and then the next panel is meant to go up, and then down and then up. And all mine are going down. And that's purely because I didn't read the pattern right. But I actually like the result that I'm left with. But at some point, one of my panels I haven't I haven't knit the right length, which is really confusing because you're meant to count. So either I can't count, which is highly probable, and slightly problematic, or I just wasn't paying attention when I was knitting that particular panel, which is also highly probable because I was also doing this whilst watching something on the TV. So this is now done. I can now get this sent off to the recipient because as much as I've knit for her, we're not pals outside of work. I don't know, I've never been to her house, I've never been invited to her house, but I don't need to be to need to knit for somebody. Like, it's just how I am. So I will get this sent off in the post to her and just hope that her and her partner like it. Finished object number 2 is my mum's socks. These socks, honestly, these have been the longest socks for me to knit. I just took a lot longer than I would normally take for socks. And I think that's just because I've had such a variety of projects on the go at the moment that I all want to work on, or in the case of the blankets, feel I needed to complete because they have a deadline. Like, they actually, like, the baby has a due date. So I've really stalled on these socks, and also the heel just didn't feel natural to me. I had to think about it, I had to really sit down with the pattern, I had to highlight which row I was on. It was not just a seamless heel flap and gusset for me. Like, the Vanilla is the New Black heel is a great heel, but it is not mindless at all. You really have to pay attention, and that slowed me down. So I've discussed on a previous podcast what yarn I thought this was. I was wrong. I don't know what yarn this is. I've got a feeling this is it could actually be the Walbut yarn that I got when I was down in Blackpool, which is a German yarn. But I can't find the ball band, and I don't know if I have another ball of it. If I do, that would have been a lot more better when it came to this sock, because I don't know if you can recognise that there is colours in this sock that are not in this one, or even in the start of this one. So I'll shimmy forward. Hello. So from this very fine green line all the way to the grey is a completely different sock yarn. I ran out of yarn. That's what happens when you use leftovers and you do cuff down and you knit a longer cuff than you normally would. I ran out of yarn, and so I messaged my mum, whose socks these are for, and I was just like, right, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to knit the grey longer? Do you want me to use a scrap? Like, how would you like me to proceed? And she's like, I'll just use whatever yarn you've got. So I found one relatively similar in tones. And because it's the toe, not very many people are going to see it. Like, my mum doesn't really... I don't think she wears socks in the house, just her slippers. So the only time she's going to be wearing them is in shoes, and no one's going to see her toe. So yeah, I think I've lucked out with this one in the sense that the tones are really quite similar. That's a very similar blue, and like these pinks are almost similar. So I feel like in these stripy sections kind of correlate with some of the other stripy sections. So I feel like I have lucked out, and quite happy with my choice. So yeah, these are now finished. I can now give these to my mama bear, and she tried one on. I was down at their house on Saturday and I got her to try one on just to make sure the length was correct. I knew the stitch count, so therefore the width would be fine, but it was more the length. I'm still to hit the nail on the head when it comes to getting the correct foot length on socks for other people. Sometimes for myself. Okay, it's 10 to. I've got a wee bit longer. Okay, so last finished object. It is not blocked and it's kind of a tale of woe. It's raining again. I knew it was going to rain. Oh well, makes the lighting a wee bit better. I finished my ranunculus and I'm really happy it's off the needles. It was starting to drive me up the wall. But I tried it on without it being blocked and the look on Scott's face just kind of said it all. I really should have knit the bigger bust size and therefore had a bigger sweater. But we're going to roll with it, we're going to block it, and then I'll try it on and have a look at it that way. I knit it longer than the pattern asked for and I still don't think it's long enough, but I have a big tummy and so that's going to affect the length. But yeah, I love the colour, I love the feel of it. I have another skein of the lace weight yarn, and if and when I decide to make another one, I will do the larger bust adjustment. And to be honest, I'll probably double up my lace weight or add the lace weight in with something. So add it in with like a fingering or even a DK and make a slightly thicker sweater, because I hated working on 6mm needles with lace weight yarn. Hated it. Especially the cast on. Like, I think the cast on of mine is ugly. There's like big gaps where it was between my needles because I use DPNs to cast on. Like, there's big massive ladders and it's just, I don't like it. I hated doing the cast on. I genuinely considered not progressing with the pattern and just ripping it out when it got to the cast on, and so I'm not exactly going to do that to myself. Another thing is I did go into doing the bind off, the ribbing and the bind off as just 1x1 rib when it asked for twisted knit stitch, and I got about 3 rows in and then I realised no, I don't like it, I'll just do the twisted knit stitch, and I'm glad I did because it does look a lot nicer. So the plan for this top is I'm going to block it, I'm going to try it on, and if it doesn't fit I'll maybe see if my best friend wants it. If not, I might just offer it up on Instagram and be like, look, if you fit this, it's yours. But yeah, it's a shame that I didn't just do the large bust adjustment and I just went with the sizes on the pattern, knowing that I obviously wouldn't get that much extra ease compared to slimmer people, but it should still fit, and if it does fit, well, I tried it on and it does fit, it just didn't look very good. I would needed to have knit it longer, like, because it's not a crop, it is definitely not a crop, but it's in that in-between stage where it's should be longer because it looks a bit funny stopping where it stops because it's not a crop. Does that make sense? So yeah, tale of woe, but could work out for a positive, hopefully. Okay, so that's my 4 finished objects. I'm going to stop here and then I will pick up the recording on my lunch break. You guys probably won't even notice the difference apart from maybe the lighting. Yeah, I need to get logged on and start work. I will start recording on my lunch break, so yeah, enjoy. Well, that's been a very long morning. Well, I'm finally on my lunch break and I can continue recording the podcast. Not that there has been much time difference for you guys. So we already have discussed the finished objects for this podcast. So it's now going to be going on to works in progress. I had to kind of I was looking at them, I was like, do I really only have 4 works in progress? But I guess I do. I feel like I'm missing something blaringly obvious, but we're just gonna roll with it. So the first one, I'm partially in the middle of a row because I picked this up for a work call, and that is my cozy memories blanket, and I'm not entirely sure where you last saw it, but I know for a fact that that one is new, and obviously this one, which I just started today. I'm going to start putting in, just realising I'm showing the back, I'm going to start putting in light bulb stitch markers to kind of highlight which ones are new and which ones we've already seen on the podcast, and then I'm also just going to highlight them with what I've done per month, because I'd like to kind of keep a total of how many squares I get added in a month. Not because I have a target or anything, but just more for seeing what I've done in that month. Albeit there's probably going to be some months where I put nothing on it, there's going to be some months where I put maybe 10 on it, who knows. So yeah, Cozy Memories blanket. It's not very long, but it's definitely I think it's just bigger than a single blanket, and eventually I might make it a double and then make it a king, but for now I'm going to aim for a single and see how I get on. Keeping with the blankets, preface this with a bit of a tale of woe with one of my other projects. I ended up getting RSI, which is repetitive strain injury, in my thumb because I was just working so intently on my sweater project, and that is nothing against the designer, nothing against the pattern, it's just for me to get gauge with an iron weight yarn and the gauge in the pattern. I'm working with a 5mm needle, so it's quite tight. I like that gauge as well. It's not that I could have changed it, but I liked the gauge. And then I was just working on it so intently and every day, and every spare minute I go, I was just I want to get this done. And I gave myself repetitive strain injury. So I've been trying to pick up lighter projects with either a looser gauge or just some crochet as well to give my thumb a rest. So when my thumb got really bad, I picked up my blanket. I am in the middle of a row, but yeah, I picked up my granny stripe blanket, and it has just, whoops, where's my marker? It's just really awoken something in me where I'm I really love working on this project. So it's quite long, but not long enough. And since, I want to say Saturday night or Sunday night, so not very long, I have put on, since this marker here, I've put on a couple of rows. Now it doesn't look like much, but you have to remember this is over king size width, because this is for Scott and I's bed. And there's just something really, really nice about being able to work on a big blanket like this, and it's cold, you're a little bit chilly, and you can just sit with a blanket over your lap. Right, I'm going to take these off because the glare is annoying me. Yeah, there's just something really, really nice about being able to snuggle up under a project that you're working on and just be cozy, comfy, not in pain. Thank you, thumb. But yeah, there's just something really, really nice about being able to get comfortable and relaxed and be kept warm whilst you're working on a project that you actually really, really enjoy. So I'm working my way through one of my magic balls that I made up, and it's a magic ball because I done the I don't know, magic knot, is that what we're calling it? Magic ball, magic knot, that would make sense. It's been a long morning. So I have two, and they both started at pretty much the same, pretty much the same size, and one now is smaller, obviously. Doesn't look that much smaller. You can see it on camera. So I'll work through this one, and then I'm either going to start picking up some of the single balls I have kicking around, or some of the scraps I've got left kicking around. So you might have seen in some previous episodes I like to buy the 10 or 15 gram mini opals. So I've got a number of those kicking around, so I might just either use them up so that they're not kicking around the flat anymore, because they're like everywhere. Those things multiply. Actually, I wish those things multiplied. So I'll work through this, and then I will, yeah, I think I'll probably just work through the wee mini balls, because just from where I'm sitting I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 in sight. And then I know for a fact there's more down here, and then there's definitely some upstairs. So yeah, I'm really, really happy to have this back out and work on it. It is definitely invigorating me to pick it up and work on it more. And I think now that I've just pulled it out, like it was in a box upstairs, out of sight, out of mind. And now that I've got it out and I've worked on it, I'm just like, oh, I want to work on it more. So that's really good. I'm really enjoying working on this. And then I could either go down the route of let's talk about the sweater that caused the reason that I pulled out the crochet, or I could go down another out of sight, out of mind project that I'm trying to get finished. So 6.5 dozen, we'll go with the sweater. So I cast on the Bourne sweater last year. I want to say end of November. Don't know why my voice is all squeaky. I want to say the end of November, maybe the start of December. And then I pretty much frogged all my progress because I had made a mistake on the sleeves. I had one stitch count on one sleeve, one stitch count on the other sleeve, and I couldn't work out where I had gone wrong. I also couldn't work out what row I should be on. And so I just ripped all the way back to the ribbing and started all over again. And I was so motivated to work on it that, like I was saying earlier, I worked on it as much as I could, as often as I could. And because of that, I buggered my thumb up. So this has been put down for about 2 weeks now. I haven't touched this. And I have officially separated for the sleeves, and I'm just on the body. So the fun bit for the let's see if I can fan this out a wee bit. The fun bit for the cables is now done. It's now all finished, and I'm now just on the body. I have yet to decide if I want to do a shaped waist or waist shaping, or if I just want a straight up and down sweater. I like a bit of waist shaping because I do have quite a indent on the waist. I know that sounds big headed, but if you've got it, flaunt it. So I'm swaying towards it, but I also just love big, baggy, chuck it on sweaters. So I'm on the fence, and I'm just putting it down for now until my thumb feels a lot better, and then I'll probably just do like 5 rows at a time. It'll take me a while to complete, but if I go all in I'm just going to injure my thumb again. So that is the Boring Sweater by Anna Freiberg, and that is Yarnistry. And I always try to link the patterns down below, and I will do that again in this instance. So yeah, you can tell I kind of like green, which is weird because normally my colours are purple and red. But yeah, I really like this. It's a tweedy, so there's tweed flecks in it. And it's one of those big 400-gram iron balls that you can get. So next up is being kept in this amazing bag, which is by Sokanjo, and it is my very long whip. I say long whip, like my blanket's definitely a lot older than this. But I started this last year on the 1st of January, and it is, right, let's not drop needles and drop all the balls of yarn. Okay, which one's the right side? That way. So this is my Marvel of Magic. I have a sleeve, and I am working on the next bit for the sleeve. So hopefully once I get this last, no, this is the second last section, I'll then join the front and the back together, and then I will just have to make the centre back panel, and then the cuffs, and then the I-cord edging. I nearly said I-cord bind off, but I don't think I'm binding off anything. But it's going to be the I-cord edging. So not long to go now, and then it's done. It will finally be done. But I just, like, when I got to the point where I joined the sleeve tailor, I was like, oh my god, the end is in sight. The end is finally in sight. Like, I can't believe it. I don't think it's taken anyone else quite as long as me to get this done, but hey ho, you live and you learn. Some projects just seem to take a long time to complete. But yeah. So I will be working on that after I finish recording, and then when I finish work and I'm editing this. But yeah, I'm not too far from finishing the second to last section, and then I join 2 sections together, and then literally it's just the centre back panel and then everything I've already said. But then there is obviously the mountain of ends that need woven in, especially like here. You can see a lot of the ends dangling out. Should have weaved in as I go, but the pattern says not to bother because you can apparently make like a, what's the word, make a feature out of the ends, and no, I don't want to do that. I want the ends gone. Do I really only have 4 works in progress? I feel like I know I said it at the start, but I feel like I'm missing something really, really obvious. I'll finish recording and then I'll sit down later on and then it will hit me. I know it will. Anyway, so I have a couple of new items that have come into the house, and one of them is under the table. So the great thing about Instagram is that you can see some beautiful yarns that people are destashing. The bad things about Instagram is you can see some beautiful yarns that people are destashing. So I was on and Joe was having a destash, and I stupidly went to go have a look, knowing that I've been saying for ages I don't need to buy more yarn. And I know I've talked about this before, but the yarn arrived, so that's why I'm talking about it now. So, as you know, if you've seen my previous one, I bought some yarn. I bought from Joe's D Stash the Gilead from the no, I don't think it is Rama. It's the one, it's the same company I knit the Golden Rays Cowl out of, but they don't have the name on the ball band. They just have Gilead, but that's not the company name. Oh, there it is. De Rerum Natura. So that is the yarn. On the screen the colour is fairly true, but it's always a bit different once I get it onto the computer, but that could be a calibration issue. So this is a Conf de Rose, which is 361006. It's 100% wool. I think it was a worsted, but I'm pretty sure you can knit it as a DK. And I have 8 balls of this, so it's definitely a sweater's quantity. And then the 2 other skeins that I got from her were these beautiful self-striping yarns. Don't know who they are. I bought them as a kind of unknown, but I bought them because they are just stunning. Like, look at those colours. So yeah, these are beautiful. Then I saw on Instagram that Leslie Ann Robinson, i.e. Knitting Graffiti, had brought her book out. So I found somewhere that was selling it. That was not Amazon. We have Amazon Prime, but I'm trying to use it less and less. I don't actually use it that much. So I went on to someone that was not Amazon and bought this, and I already want to cast on so many things. Like, I think one of the first ones I want to cast on is a sweater. It's called Mist. So that's the sweater there. Sorry, I'm trying to do it so you don't see any of the pattern details. Hence why I kind of swooped in from the side. But I think that sweater is absolutely beautiful. It says here, this boxy crop top is basically a pullover. Is basically the pullover of my dreams. It can be layered over a dress or paired with long sleeve tee and high-waisted jeans. I wanted to design a sweater that uses brioche knitting, but in a way that wasn't scary. The combinations of the stitch pattern merged together harmoniously, creating the horizontal and vertical stripes that are so geographically pleasing. Oh, so graphically. I was like, why is it geographically pleasing? Prefacing this with, I have Mears-Irland syndrome, so I wouldn't normally read out loud for people because I take words out and put words in that are not there. If this is your first sweater or garment, I have written this pattern especially for you. Every step in this pattern is explained clearly. I choose a single ply fingering weight yarn so that the brioche stitches can really shine. The subtle contrasts and colours of that beautifully dyed yarn by Samantha of Old Soul Fibre Company is magical. The slight speckles make it interesting, but not too saturated. I can't bother reading the rest because it's just about the yarn. No offence, but I want to talk about the pattern. So yeah, I bought this book and I'm really, really glad I did because I do really want to work on some brioche this year. Between brioche, steeking and colour work, I really just want to push myself a wee bit harder when it comes to knitting this year. And so I felt like this was perfect. And then we have another sweaters quantity. Actually, I'm going to have another one at the end of next month as well. Again from Jo, but I'm paying her up. So I will eventually have another sweaters quantity coming from Jo's D Stash. But Scott bought me yarn. That's a big thing for us. Scott has once bought me yarn. 2 or 3 skeins of DK weight that went into my Amma sweater. But he bought me a full sweaters quantity for Valentine's Day. And it is from Dye Ninja, who is unfortunately closing up shop and was therefore having a rather fantastic sale, in the sense that we are watching the pennies, and the money probably could have gone something a wee bit more useful than yarn, but a sweater's quantity at the price that we got it, I'm going to take it and I'm not going to complain about it. So this is High Twist Merino Fingering. It's approximately 365 yards, so I got 6 skeins of this because I'm a big gal, I need a bit more yarn. And this is the Kelda colourway. So yeah, it's just beautiful, it's so squishy. I have a couple of Dye Ninja skeins and they're just absolutely, I don't want to use the word precious, but they're so luxurious and squishy and beautiful, and this is no different. I just love the colour, it's so bright. Not as bright as my love note, but still bright. But yeah, I just couldn't believe it when Scott said that he was getting me yarn. I was just like, wow. Because he knows, like, he understands, like, I can be a little bit picky when it comes to yarn, and therefore he doesn't really pick it unless I'm like, right, this is the yarn I want. So yeah, he bought me yarn. I'm so happy. I reckon that's it. I always do this. I always get to the end and then I end up pausing for so long, and it must be really, really annoying, so apologies. But yeah. I'm going to edit this tonight and then hopefully get it up tonight or tomorrow. And I'm going to try and get onto the last section of the Marled Magic sweater. But I also have a square to finish on my Cozy Memories blanket. I probably should start putting a couple of rows on to the Boron sweater, but my thumb is still giving me issues as of yesterday. So I'm not rushing to work on that just now until I know for a fact my thumb is fully healed. But what else is going on? Like literally there feels like there's things on the tip of my tongue I want to talk about, but at the same point I'm just like, what is it? I can't quite formulate that thought process. And if that's the work IM system, all you're going to hear is bing, 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 bing. So gonna wrap this up now. Feel free to come and join us in the Facebook group, and I will link that down below. You can also follow me on Instagram and stuff with information in the description box below. Like and subscribe if that is your thing. If not, then hopefully see you next time I record. If you don't like and if you don't subscribe, you might not see the next podcast episode that comes out. That's the thing, like that's why we ask you to subscribe. And liking is just because it's polite. I was talking to my friend Zoe and she's like, I watch your podcast and I'm like in awe at your gin collection. I do have a lot of gin. I don't actually drink that often. I have maybe like one gin every 2 months or something. I just love flavoured gin, like gin liqueurs. And I really like the colours as well, so everyone sees it and they're like, they must think like I drink a quite excessive amount, and especially when they think like Scottish as well, people seem to associate Scottish and booze really quite a lot. But yeah, I don't actually drink that often, so think what you will, but I just like that tower because it holds my yarn and my laptop, and it's a small-ish living room. But yeah, I'm going to disappear. I can feel that I'm a wee bit wheezy. I might need to go get my inhaler. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. I hope to see you next time I record, and until then, stay safe everyone. Bye.